Women say they want a nice guy, but they always end up with toxic guys instead. If you're a man who treats women really well, but for some reason you can't get beyond the first, second, or third date because they end up losing interest in you or they just didn't feel the spark, this video is for you. Today you will learn how to create and sustain attraction without being toxic. Because if you want to find the right girlfriend or wife, you have to be able to have a healthy, loving relationship on eye level without exhibiting toxic traits while maintaining masculine-feminine polarization. The first problem that you have in your communication with women is that you're boring as hell. You do not create any emotions within them whatsoever. Why do women choose the cocaine-addicted bartender over you? Somebody who's stable in life, kind, caring, hardworking, ambitious, because he provides emotions, and not just in the form of substances. He's unpredictable. Now, they do that in an unhealthy way. How can you do that in a healthy way? You become radically honest and free in your expression. Self-amusement is a concept you've probably never even heard of. Saying something to make yourself laugh, saying something because you want to say it, because it's an honest expression of who you are as opposed to pleasing her. You're trying to impress as opposed to express yourself. The more you can place your own focus on freedom of expression, on simply doing and saying what you believe is congruent with who you are, as opposed to how it's gonna land, the more attraction you will actually build. That's what these toxic guys do very well. They don't care at all whether she approves of what they're saying or doing or not. Zero. So the more you can focus on being carefree in your expression, the more emotional variety you will build. You do want to be a calibrated member of society. So there are certain things you never want to say or do, obviously, but you're not the kind of man who lacks social calibration. You're probably already extremely professional in your career or your business. You know how to maintain social interactions. You probably already know how to make women feel comfortable around you. But it's that spike of emotions that's lacking. That's what these toxic guys create. You can do so in a loving, caring, and long-term sustainable way, if you will. The second problem is that you are pedestalizing her. You're placing her above you. You believe that if only you could have her, all of your life's dreams would come true, you would be happy. And even though it's true, even though having the right woman by your side is amazing and it'll add happiness to your life, purpose, fulfillment, you'll travel with somebody, you'll be able to have a family together. It is the single best thing in the whole world. It'll be the greatest source of happiness. At the same time, to get there, you have to come from a place of already being complete. Extremely important. Let that point sink in. In order to find somebody that you're truly compatible with, who will add that level of happiness to your life, you can't place her above you. Ideally, you don't want to place her below you either, because that's what these toxic guys do. They think women are below them, and they treat them like shit. That's not what you want to do. You want to have her on eye level. You want to look at her like what she is, another human being who will add a tremendous amount of happiness to you, but not somebody who's irreplaceable, because everybody can be replaced. There's 400 million women in the world in your age bracket alone. She ain't that special. That one woman who left you, or you ended it with, because you know you weren't compatible and now you kind of miss her, she wasn't that special. It's never about her. It's about the fulfillment of certain psychological needs you have. And Marshall Rosenberg, founder of nonviolent communication, always says, or used to say, may he rest in peace, that all of our needs can be met independent of any particular person, right? She's not that special, but you need to look at her for what she is. She's not this almighty source of happiness. She's not above you. You don't need her validation. You don't need her approval. Your life will be just fine without her. Your life was perfect before her. Not perfect, but it was perfectly fine without her. It'll be perfectly fine once you leave her, or if it were to end, which hopefully it never will. But that brings me to the third point, a willingness to walk away. What these toxic guys have that you don't is a fundamental willingness to walk away. The second you're on a date with a woman you actually really like, the second you're talking to somebody that you actually really like, I can actually see this going somewhere. You fear loss because you're coming from scarcity, because you haven't created at least one quality date per week for yourself. You're not using dating apps, you're not using Instagram, you're not approaching in person, or if you're doing it, your approach is not that great. You're doing it wrong, or you're not putting in all of the effort. That's why you're coming from scarcity. That's why you don't have a fundamental willingness to walk away. Now you might say, David, how am I supposed to get these dates if I don't have the... Is it not a catch-22? Like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Am I going to have the willingness to walk away first? But how am I supposed to get that if I need to have that to get the abundance, and if I need the abundance to get that? So which comes first? It doesn't really matter. You can just turn on dating apps, build a great profile, and get actual abundance, or you can change your mindset right now. You can start at both points. You can start at the mindset level and just understand that there's not a single woman in the world that you need. Zero. And if she were to walk away, you'll be fine. Now, there is a systemic element to this. Are you spending enough time with quality male friends? Are you going to the gym regularly? Are your habits on point? Are you spending time in nature? Or are you just grinding away in front of a laptop and then you wonder why you feel lonely or a little bit down? You need to have your habits on point. Your physiological needs and your psychological needs have to be met if you want to feel fully alive and confident and abundant. So there is a systemic element to it. But you can now decide in this very moment that you will never ever chase after a single individual ever again. You can commit to the macro outcome of a relationship. You can chase that goal while being totally relaxed with any given interaction. In the micro, zero neediness. In the macro, absolute commitment to the outcome of finding a quality relationship without coming from a place of scarcity. The next thing you have to do is, as I was saying earlier, create a network locally of quality male friends. You've heard me talk about it ad nauseum, but it needs to be iterated because you're still not doing it. A local network, a group of friends that you see on a weekly basis. It's not enough to just have male friends across the US. It's not enough to just see them every once in a while, every couple of months. You actually have to see them on a weekly basis. Why? Because you have a need for love and connection. And the more your need for love and connection is met, the easier it'll be for you to set boundaries and to express yourself freely, because you'll have that fundamental willingness to walk away, because your psychological well-being does depend on her. With my ex-wife, the reason I married her in the first place is because I was afraid to lose her. If you're afraid to lose her and you feel like your psychological well-being depends on the approval or the existence of that one person in your life, you are doomed to suffer. So you need to meet your need for love and connection through a variety of different people. If you work in finance, what do? You diversify. You don't just put all your eggs into one stock. That's crazy. The risk is ridiculous. Right? You diversify. Same thing here. Crazy concept. You diversify the source, or rather the sources for your need for love and connection. Next point, boundaries. What these toxic guys do really well in an extremely unhealthy way that you can do in a very healthy, loving, long-term way is to set boundaries. You're not standing up for yourself. And how on earth is she supposed to respect you if you don't even respect yourself? And you don't have to be a dick about it at all. You can be very loving and kind and simply say, hey, look, what you did there, that's not okay. When I'm in ranting coaching mode, that's not actually how I communicate with people if there's a conflict situation. In the actual conflict situation, if there's a little thing that needs to be solved, for example, she comes late to the date, or she expects you to text a lot, or whatever the little problem may be that demands you setting a boundary, you can simply say, hey, Sarah, what you did there, that wasn't cool. In the future, please. She needs to see that you're loving and kind and caring and fun and playful, but that you're also unfuckwithable. She has to get a sense that this is a kind of guy that I will not cross boundaries with. And you have men like that in your life, and you have women like that in your life. And if you're actually honest with yourself, ask yourself this. Aren't there some men and women with whom you're a lot more worried to cross their boundaries than with others? Actually be honest. Even if you're a kind and good and caring person and you're really conscious of other people's needs and you want to make other people feel good, aren't there some where you're a lot more worried about crossing their boundaries than others? Interesting, huh? Why? Because they've set boundaries with you in the past and you've experienced consequences. Even if that's just emotional dissatisfaction and them saying, hey, that's not okay. Please don't ever do that again. That's not okay. Simply by setting boundaries, attraction goes up immediately, because what happens when you set a boundary? You communicate a fundamental willingness to lose her, which implies abundance. What you haven't done in the past is set boundaries. You overinvest. You're overly nice. You give too many compliments. And if she does something that you're actually not okay with, like demanding that you text back, like coming late, like canceling plans last minute, yeah, no problem, no worries. Really? Would you do that at work? In your business, in your career? If a client said that? If an employee of yours did that, how would you communicate? Client of mine, managing director for big Bank of America, not like CEO, but high-level executive in that bank. I had the exact same conversation with him the other day. I was in the gym and I was talking to him about, come over here, there's a bicycle coming. And I was saying to him that, why don't you talk to her the way you would talk to a member in your team, in your job? How would you communicate? And the answer flowed out of him perfectly the way he were to set a boundary. He already knew it after 6 months of coaching. Fair enough, okay? He's already in a happy relationship right now. There was a little situation that needed solving. And so we talked about that. And I said, how would you communicate to her if she was an employee? And the perfect balance of reassurance and empathy plus boundary. In your career and your business, you're already communicating very well. With deals, you're negotiating well, whatever particular domain you're in. But you suck at communicating with women. That's why they've lost interest in you. Good news is there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a skill set that you can learn, that you have to dedicate yourself to learn. But it starts with a fundamental respect for yourself, which also manifests itself in boundaries. And again, Fernanda and I, my fiance, I've been with her now for 5.5, almost 6 years. She does the same thing with me. She sets boundaries with me. If I say or do some stupid shit, 100%. No problem with that whatsoever. And I'll set boundaries with her. I extremely rarely have to, because with the right woman, she won't give you that many shit tests. They will also, trust me, but not nearly as many as the wrong ones will. But when you set the boundaries, say, hey babe, I love you, but you can do so in a very loving way. Intent really matters. Let's cross to the left here. Intent really, really matters. If your intent is for her to feel good and for her to feel loved, and for you guys to have a healthy relationship that sustains itself throughout time, then you will naturally win in the end because you'll acquire the skill set. These toxic guys who get laid a lot when they go out, it looks like they're winning in the short term, but they don't have a healthy, fulfilling long-term relationship. They end up with people who are equally toxic. Because you don't just attract what you want, you attract what you are. But it would be foolish of me to tell you, for you to just be yourself and exist in this world and just be an authentic version of yourself, and you'll fucking magnetically attract the right woman. That hasn't worked, has it? Because you actually have to put yourself out there and systematically and strategically do 3 things. Get more quality dates, work on your communication skills, and study the dynamics of attraction. If you want me to help you with that personally, apply for a free initial consultation. I have thousands of free videos. Go check them out. Wish you all the best. Take care.